So Pierre Poilievre wants to create a 3 strikes rule in Canada. This is what he's announced, that if you get convicted of criminal offenses 3 times, you automatically go to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200 for 10 years with no possibility of parole. That is absolutely bonkers, and it would destroy the justice system as we know it. First of all, the first problem with this idea is that for everybody facing a second or third offense, they would have no choice but to take it to trial. There's no sense in pleading guilty and getting another criminal conviction if you're going to be putting yourself at risk of a third strike for your next time, or you're facing your third strike, so to speak. It means that so many more cases that wouldn't have to go to trial otherwise, that might be resolved with lesser pleas, with some sort of a deal, with a sentence that allows somebody to serve their sentence in the community or rehabilitate themselves, all go to trial because people can't take the risk of 10 years of jail. The second huge problem with this is that there isn't room as it is for all the people that we're already putting in jail and keeping in jail. We don't have room in our institutions in this country for the number of people that are incarcerated. This means that we would have to build dozens more institutions, or we'll be bunking people for people to a cell, which is inhumane conditions. And if there are inhumane conditions, that's likely to get struck down by the Supreme Court of Canada. Oh, and number 3, who's going to pay for this? You know what happens when somebody's in jail for 10 years? You and me and all of the other taxpayers in society fund their existence, their healthcare, their food, their toiletries, everything that they need is paid for by you and me, by otherwise law-abiding citizens who aren't in there for 10 years. So what Pierre Poilievre is doing is essentially asking the law-abiding taxpayer people of Canada to pay for people that he considers to be hardened criminals and chronic offenders and all of that type of thing, which I don't agree with that characterization to begin with. And the fourth problem with this is that it is grossly unconstitutional. It is absolutely insane to come up with the idea that the Supreme Court of Canada would strike down so fast his head would spin. There is no justification for an automatic 10-year jail sentence for somebody just because it's their third time committing an offense. Even this week, the BC Court of Appeal released a decision about something known as the step-up principle in criminal law, where it has historically been interpreted in some cases to mean that your second offense, you get a higher sentence than the last time, your third offense, you get a higher offense than your second, and so on and so forth. Each sentence is a step up from the last. But in fact, the step-up principle is a principle of restraint. Judges are meant to exercise restraint in sentencing by automatically and without, opportunity to dispute it, sending people to jail for 10 years. This completely erodes the principle of restraint. It creates a mandatory minimum sentence in circumstances where it's not justified. And all that somebody has to do to constitutionally challenge this is raise the possibility of a hypothetical offender. You don't have to have you as the person before the court be the person subject to this to say this law is unconstitutional and not deserve that sentence, although I can't imagine somebody who would deserve that sentence in those circumstances anyway. But putting that aside, to challenge the law, if you're facing the wrath of it, you can create a hypothetical offender. For example, an Indigenous residential school survivor who is committing violent offenses in order to subsist and fund a drug addiction, which is used to cope with the harms of residential school. That person doesn't deserve to go to jail for 10 years just because they robbed some convenience stores 3 times. That's the person Pierre Poilievre would send to jail, the hypothetical offender, and the Supreme Court of Canada would have no problem seeing that that is very clearly not a proportionate sentence for somebody in those circumstances. And because the law is disproportionate, the law would be struck down. This is just simply not something that would ever fly in our criminal justice system. And you and me and every other taxpayer out there would spend millions of dollars for all of the provinces and all of the federal government employees to litigate this through all of our provincial courts, all of our superior courts, all of our courts of appeal, all to make its way to the Supreme Court of Canada. It would cost you millions of dollars just to have the court tell you what I'm already telling you for free in this TikTok, which is it's unconstitutional, it cannot fly, it is not part of a fair and free and democratic society, and Pierre Poilievre should be ashamed for proposing something like this.